Welcome back to another in-depth look at our beloved 52 playing cards. Today it's the Two of Hearts, and it's once again a rather special card because in this case, as you can see in the mundane spread, the Two of Hearts is a semi-fixed card that we remember from our 7-minute Cardology a couple of series back, or a couple of episodes back. If you haven't watched that, then please do so. The Two of Hearts sits in the Venus line, on the Venus line in the Neptune column, and it does so as a semi-fixed card every second year in its birth year, and then in year 3, 5, 7, etc. So all odd years, it sits there. Not odd years past, in other words, not when the person is 1, but when it's 1, 3, 5, and 7, it sits in the position of the Ace of Clubs, which is its true place, being on the Mercury line and the Venus column. But when it's born, it sits on the Venus line in the Neptune column, and it sits though when it turns 2, when it turns 4, when it turns 6, etc. So when it's born, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's another anomaly. I love this word, anomaly. And that is that when it sits in that Neptune column on the Venus line, it has the 8 of clubs as its Neptune card. So that happens in its birth year, and it happens then obviously every second year. So there's a very fixed energy quality around mental concepts regarding Neptune, the Neptunian qualities. It also means there's mental power, not to forget, not just a fixed mind. It doesn't have to be negative. It can also be positive. So there is mental power on the positive side as far as subjects of vision, dreams, etc., the outer and otherworldly is concerned. So every second year, that Two of Hearts gets that push, gets that energetic push from the 8 of clubs. Can also act out negatively, of course, because we always have choices. But let's have a look at the other cards. We have King of Hearts as its Mercury card. So that means there's a very strong mind, but the mind is coming from a position of love, a position of authority, because the King of Hearts is the loving father. So they're very disciplined, very strong mental energy ruling that Two of Hearts. As a 2, you always have to be careful not to become codependent. Let go of others. Don't own them. Don't attach to them too much. Keep your own individuality. Very, very important for that too. So there's an authority on the mental side due to that King of Hearts. And at times that authority can become overbearing, especially then under Mercury. So the Two of Hearts has to pay attention to that quality. The Venus card is a King of Diamonds. So in the early years, they are under very strong King influence. First 13 years King of Hearts, next 13 years King of Diamonds. And as Venus is also related to money and business, the Two of Hearts can become rather successful in life because of that strong, driven Diamond's value-based energy. But the value-based energy with a king also extends to their relationships. So they can be quite strict when it comes to relationships due to the one-eyed king, King of Diamonds, with that battle axe or the sword upheld on the card, on the symbol. So they have to learn how to become vulnerable, because kings being at the end of that sequence of the 13 cards tend to be rather fixed and rigid. So that's a lesson for them, not to act out those negative qualities too much and always keep an eye on that. Maybe the eye that they are blind to. So they need to let warmth come in their relationship, become softer, they want to, but King of Hearts and Mercury, but sort of in reality, they may find this rather difficult and challenging because people trust them with their hearts and their futures, and also the financial futures because of the diamond suit. Let's have a look at Mars. There we have a Six of Hearts. Mars is action, desire, and will. And the Six of Hearts is the peacekeeper or peacemaker card. So it's all about emotional balance in motion. They don't rush, they reflect, they weigh up the emotional consequences before jumping in. And that makes their actions almost karmically timed. And Mars here teaches them how to handle conflict because that inevitably and eventually will define their growth, because Mars is the second component, next to Venus, and Venus and Mars then determine how the growth and the expansion happens under Jupiter. There, by the way, we find the Four of Clubs, but that Six of Hearts in Mars is always related to some karmic energy. And so choose your battles wisely. You're the peacemaker card. Don't rush in. If you wrong others, balance it out, because having a 6 in that position always means you get back what you've been dishing out, and you get that back often rather swiftly. Clean your heart and then take the high road, even though it's hard. Four of Clubs in Jupiter. Let's talk about expansion and blessings, because that's what Jupiter is all about. And the Four of Clubs is like having a spiritual compass with a logical grid, because fours, order and structure, clubs is the mental side. So that's the thriving here takes place in routines that feed the mind, so the order and the structure and the routine, but then sort of studying, planning, teaching, anything that expands the mind, that feeds the mind. So the growth comes when there is a commitment to mental discipline. That's the key to abundance for the Two of Hearts with that Four of Clubs in Jupiter. Pitfall could be mental rigidities. Don't get locked into your framework, that sort of you miss anything on the outside. You've got a natural gift to simplify because of order and structure. There's always a simplification taking place, complex things, which is beautiful. And that obviously also helps others to find their clarity. And when you're aligned and have not become codependent, but are in your strength, in your true strength that has the ability and the quality to balance things out, then your brain becomes a channel for real insight. Because remember, the other side of that Two of Hearts is the Ace of Clubs. The dynamic, male-driven, directed mental energy, the desire to create more knowledge. Saturn throws the Two of Hearts another 2. The Two of Diamonds. Saturn loves even cards. The 2 is on the low side of the even cards, but that's still fine, because here the lesson is about structure and responsibilities. The Two of Diamonds is about sharing values, Diamonds values to sharing, and it's about collaboration and the fairness in those collaborations related to values, Diamonds. So that is the curriculum for the Two of Hearts. There are challenges in partnerships. There could be financial, business, or even close friendships, until you understand what you bring to the table and what you are worth. Because for the 2, and there are 2 twos, birth card and Saturn card. Saturn is the lesson card. 2s need to remember what they are capable of. They're on the female side, the passive side, so it's not easy to them to find their strength, come into their strength. That only happens later in life, or in their 30s, mid-30s. Then they realize what they really have to offer. And so they need to become aware of what they bring to the table, because they have a lot to bring to the table. So they need to learn to negotiate from a place of self-respect and not fear, because all 2s are fear cards in a way. And so the universe will test your self-worth through your associations. That's the Two of Diamonds in Saturn. Jack of Spades in Uranus. That's beautiful, because the Jack of Spades is the trickster card. So that card in a very unstable position, tricky. Because the Jack of Spades, like all jacks, they try to push the limits, push the boundaries. The Jack of Spades does that in the spiritual realm. So it will cause a lot of not uncertainty, but a lot of, I can't find the word, not conflict, but movement, upheaval in that position. So with friends, there could be a very strong psychic connection, because, and a very creative connection, very creative energy, because the Jack of Spades is the card of the spiritual initiate. And under Uranus, that's when things get juicy. There's when the unconventional, the unexpected genius level kicks in, and that Jack of Spades certainly does have a genius element to it. And remember, Jack of Spades, there are only 2 in the year, on the 3rd of January and the 1st of February. Those are the only 2 Jack of Spades of the entire year. So once again, so the breakthroughs here do not come through shortcuts, and they do not come by shirking responsibility, because the Jacks all have to take responsibility. They have to learn how to take responsibility, the ability to respond. And really like putting your soul in and growing up, especially when it comes to others, and especially when it comes to changes, because Uranus brings in that sudden change, the unexpected, and then often you are tasked to approach this, or asked rather to approach this, from a high road and not the low road. And the Jacks, they tend to take the low road, and that's a reminder for them to stay on the high road, and to master the energy, to master responsibility, rather than scattering the energy and shirking away from that. Finally, we've got the 8 of Clubs in Neptune. I've alluded to that earlier on. Every second year, there's the 8 of Clubs in Neptune. There we drift into the dream realm, illusion, intuition, and idealism. That is what governs Neptune. And here we've got that power card of mental focus, mental control, but also mental rigidity. And the 2 of Hearts here is a type that can hold a vision with laser precision, but they have to believe in it. The risk is that they can stuck in mental loops, become fixated on unrealistic ideals, and they need to remember to focus on cutting through the confusion rather than reinforcing it. Neptune has blessed them with a deep intuitive thinking, so they need to trust those insights, but balance them out with real world feedback, because due to that fixed nature of the 8 of Hearts, that's almost like a border around them, and they do not accept input from others. But with those 2 twos and the constant need for cooperation and union, I don't think that weighs in too heavily. So, use, as a 2 of Hearts, use that 8 of Clubs in Neptune as a lighthouse, because obviously under Neptune there's a lot of healing and wisdom, energy related or connected to it. Pluto card, that's when we move on to the Jupiter line. Pluto is about, transformation, power, ego, and death. Obviously, death of the ego most of the time. And that 6 of Diamonds is talking about value alignment. Once again, a karmic energy with that 6. It's the second 6, because you remember they've got a 6 of Hearts in Mars. And here sort of the card demands karmic accountability. And because of the diamond suit, especially as it comes to money, fairness, and their personal sense of justice, values in general. They may face deep shifts in their material world, but every change is asking them whether their values match their actions. And when they do, that's when they unlock tremendous influence, not over others, though, but over the shape of their own life. And that wraps up the Two of Hearts. Very interesting card. You are getting more and more of an insight into the system of cardology, into the Two of Hearts in this case, and its semi-fixed nature and its twin with that Ace of Clubs. So enjoy. There's more. We are continuing in the next series with the Three of Hearts. That's a very interesting card because it is the Mercury card on the Mercury column, Mercury line in the mundane spread. But until then, I hope you liked it, and see you on the flip side.